Hello and good morning, everybody. Well, morning here in Phoenix, Arizona, in the United States. My name is Tomas Garza, and welcome all of you to the very first Facebook Live that I'll be doing here from OMTimes page. So thank you all for tuning in, and I really appreciate having you. I'll be with you for about 20 minutes today to talk about my show, Decide to Transform, which is here on OMTimes Radio, and the show airs every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time here in North America. And I thank you all for tuning in from all over the world as we wait for the feed to populate here a little bit. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm a radio show host, my background, all of that. I have always been interested in spirituality, and I'm a meditator. I've been a meditator for 35 years. I've always been interested in spiritual topics and had a meditation practice. And I've very recently jumped into the world of podcasting. This has been something that I've thought about, but it wasn't until about a year ago, where I wrote and published my very first book, that I really became serious about entering the world of podcasting. My book is entitled Decide: How to Replace Your Fictions with Truth, Go Big in Life, and Transform Audaciously. And it is a record of all of my teachings and a lot of the things that I've done wrong in the past, all of the mistakes that I've made in terms of listening to limiting stories, and the ways that I've gotten, frankly, in my own way in terms of personal growth. So that is something that I've always wanted to get out. I've been a teacher my entire life, including a meditation teacher, and what I have done is in various careers, including conflict management, alternative dispute resolution as a mediator. Hey, Lisa, Liana, and Rosalind, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Yeah, and thank you all for tuning in all over the world. I know there are a lot of you on here right now. I do intend to make these lives interactive as well. So, in all of this background, as a trainer, as a mediator in conflict management, as a college professor, what I realized a couple of years ago is that all of this work is spiritual work. All of conflict management is about how we control and manage ourselves on the inside. It quite literally has nothing to do with other people and how they show up, because it's up to us how we react to every situation. It's how we behave, and indeed how we show up, that attracts either a conflict situation or peace. And it's all internal. It's all an inside job. And I realized after years of treating this externally as an external topic that it's all about how we show up, and it's all about our personal growth on the inside. This was 2018, and at that time I began actively teaching meditation, and I began to write the book. And that is one of the best things that I have ever done. It's led me into the world of podcasting and to the show, Decide to Transform, which I'll talk a little bit about here on this Facebook Live. And by the way, I will be joining you an hour before my show airs at noon Eastern Time in North America, 12 Eastern Time, and this is going to be a weekly ongoing event. So I'm looking forward to spending time with you. And again, this is going to be interactive. I invite comments on the show, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I also invite comments here on the live thread. So if you're here, let me know that you've tuned in. Wherever you're from in the world, I welcome you very much. Thank you. So that's it for my background. Let me tell you about the show. And I want to give credit to Lisa Berry, because Lisa's on here right now. Lisa, I want to thank you for your work and your support in the creation of this show, guys. Lisa is the host of Light on Living, which is also a show here on OMTimes Radio. You may have heard Lisa. She airs at noon Eastern Time on Mondays. Lisa is a very, very dynamic podcast producer, and she's been instrumental in helping me create this show on all the creative levels. She's also a very good friend of mine. So Lisa, thank you and welcome to the live. I'm glad you get to catch this first little bit here. Okay, so let's talk about the show and what it is, what it's about, and why decide to transform. In the title, I've selected two very important action verbs: decide and transform. Not change, but transform, because change happens. It comes at us. We get up in the morning and we have more gray hair than we did the day before. For example, change comes at us. The weather changes, seasons change, our kids grow up, they get older. But transformation is internal, and it is an act of will. Transformation is an act of will. It's about making a decision and then making a commitment to transform. Hence the title, Decide to Transform. And of course, Decide is also the title of my book. Transformation takes time, and it takes a lot of patience. And that's something that is not always easy for people to find for themselves, is the patience. In meditation, people expected, and I've had students that expected to get farther than they were in a very short time. It is not possible for most of us to acquire the wisdom of Buddha in 15 minutes. It simply is not something that we human beings are likely to do. And yet we expect that of ourselves. Hello, Shirley. Thanks for tuning in. We expect ourselves to always achieve more and to do more and be more and more, but we don't give ourselves the patience, we do not give ourselves the presence of mind, and we don't give ourselves the grace to go forward and take it one step at a time. Therefore, transformation is a process, and along the way, there are so many lessons that we can learn. Now, a spiritual practice is the culmination of experience, because it's all about experience. To me, it's not about belief in one thing versus another, or one doctrine versus another, or even one religion or tradition versus another. It's all about experience. Now, I had a teacher in the late 1990s and early 2000s named Lama Michael Conklin in Portland, Oregon. Lama Michael is a Western-trained Buddhist, a Tibetan Buddhist, and he had a saying that has guided me for years, and it guides all of my teachings right now. And he said, nothing exists until you experience it. And I think that's worth repeating. Nothing exists until you experience it. In other words, spirituality, personal growth, personal transformation is 100% about experience. That's it. That's all. Nothing exists until you experience it. So when people talk at any point in time, especially these days, about massive global shifts, about massive transformation, which is a phrase that you'll hear from me again and again, it's one that I love. When people talk about all these things, it may seem to some that it's esoteric and kind of out there, and you may find yourself wondering, well, how do these people know? How can they be so certain that this is happening? And the reality is they have most certainly experienced it. And if somebody's just talking about it without the experience, well, you can tell. Because people can spot fake a mile away. But if somebody feels and looks and sounds authentic, they've experienced what they're talking about. And nothing exists until you experience it. What I want the radio show to be is a place where you can begin to contemplate what it would be like to experience some of these things. And if you have, still tune in anyway, because what I offer are practical tips, practical things that you can do to make spiritual practice accessible in your life. That's what it's about, is about accessibility. It's so important how we show up in the world. It's so important how we handle ourselves and changing circumstances. Right now, global pandemic, perfect example. But this work was relevant before coronavirus. It's relevant during, and once all of this passes, it will be equally relevant. It's timeless. And each of us owes it to ourselves to show up and be the best personal, possible version of ourselves that we can be. To show up as best as we can on a given day. And have patience with ourselves, mindful that one day we might not feel well, or we might have very low energy, we might feel depressed or sad, and what you are able to give on one day is not going to be what you can give the following. And that's all right. But it's up to us to take care of ourselves. So on the show, I prioritize self-care, I prioritize personal growth, and I share openly as a teacher about things that I've done wrong. Because the list is long. The list is long. I'm 48 years old, and that means 48 years worth of experience in this lifetime. It's a list of things, and I offer this and share this with you because there might be somebody out there that really resonates. Whether you think that you're a teacher or not, you are. Whether you hold yourself out as a teacher or a professor or an instructor, whatever your profession in the world, we're always teaching because we're always showing people. We're always communicating with them on an emotional level, on a psychological and spiritual level, no matter what we actually say. People are always responding and relating to our energy and what we put out there. So if we do not take the time to be our best possible selves, then we're communicating a lack of worth to other people. We're communicating that it's okay to just be so-so and blah and mediocre. It's okay to just slide by. It's okay to limit yourself. And we all know deep down that it's not, but we need some help. And I'm here to help. Today's show is a show, in fact, that I've pre-recorded, and I typically go live on Decide to Transform, and the time again is 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific on OMTimes. And what I usually do is I just talk and share as a teacher myself. However, I invite and I welcome guest teachers. So I want to put this out there to you that if you are in some form a teacher or a coach, a counselor, or if you have some content, if you're an author yourself, and you would be interested in guest teaching on OMTimes Radio with our global reach, then feel free to reach out to me. And I will put my email address here in the comments. That is a great way to reach me. And I will also include my website, which is tomasgarza.com. Okay, so let me just come back to today's show. I pre-recorded it thinking that I was going to be in Puerto Vallarta with my wife, my 2 kids, my dad, and his wife, renting a beach house in Mexico. That was the plan before this pandemic hit. And I'm here at home in Phoenix, which is absolutely fine. We've just bought a home here after moving from Mexico, in fact, and we have a pool, and we have some beautiful plants that we've planted here in the backyard. So if we're going to be practicing our social distancing, it's a very good place to do it. But I pre-recorded this show. It is about are limiting stories. And these are the things that we tell ourselves. I'm too old. I'm too young. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's not the right time, or it's just not for me, or the group has already started. I can't do this. Yeah, I can't join this yoga class because it's already started. Okay? These are limiting stories that we tell ourselves, and what I talk about in the book, Decide, and on the show today is how we can manage that, how we get around that. So if you all have any limiting stories that you're telling yourselves, go ahead and drop that in the comments if you're comfortable with that. I'd like to make this interactive, and it's always fun to hear from you here on a Facebook Live. I welcome your questions on the show. Email is the best way to do that, and I'll put the address on there. It's Tomas without the H. This is the Spanish variety here. Tomas@tomasgarza.com. And you can send questions. I love to read them over the air. It's really a fun thing. And if you do that, you're not only helping yourself, but you're helping people all around the world, because many people have the same questions as you do. And they're just not in a position to ask, or they're too afraid to ask. We can all relate to being in a classroom, whether as a kid or as an adult, and having a question, and then having somebody in the class raise their hand and ask the question that 40 to 50 people in the room wanted to know too. And it's very comforting. People just breathe that sigh of relief. And it's a great way not only to get your question answered, but also to help people that you've never met from all over the world and that you're not likely to meet in person. And it's extending your reach. So again, I want to put out the offer to you. If you have personal transformation or spiritual related themes that you would like to showcase, this is a 1-hour show, and I'm actively looking for people to join me as a guest teacher. And I know that Lisa is actively looking for people to interview for Light on Living as well. Now, this is a great opportunity to showcase your content, and I'm perfectly happy getting up, taking the mic, and talking for an hour. As you can hear, most of my shows thus far have been me as a solo, but I have had 4 guests on there, and they're all very fun shows, so I encourage you to click the link here, Decide to Transform on OMTimes Radio. Okay, so today's show is about limiting stories, and I will be back live next week on April 7th. It's every Tuesday, 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 on the Pacific Coast here, Pacific Time, 10 a.m. And I really want to invite you all to tune in. I will be going live an hour prior to each show, and I'll typically record those shows live. This will be live next week here, and I invite you to tune in. These are available wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, right? Anywhere, Spreaker, you name it. It's one of the beauties of this medium is that we're able to communicate with people all over the world 24 hours a day, because it doesn't matter when you pick it up. You can pick up a podcast and listen to it at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I hope that you do that if you have a mind. And wherever you are, what I want you to do is to please prioritize your self-care. I know that many of you are at home and you would rather be out and about. I understand. Once all of this clears, one of the first things that I'm going to do is, when sports start up, I'm going to attend a football match, because I miss the crowds and the game and all of that. And I know that some of you are in a situation where perhaps the kids are getting on your nerves, perhaps your partner is getting on your nerves, your spouse, people that are with you. I want you to please, for the sake of yourself and for everyone else around you, please prioritize your self-care. It's never been more important than right now. It's never been more important than right now to take care of yourself, because not only are we worth it, but everybody else is counting on us. If your kids are with you, in quarantine or in self-imposed isolation, whatever you're calling it right now, social distancing, if you're in the same house together, there are going to be moments where you all get on each other's nerves, and that's okay. And it's definitely okay to be afraid, but you can't stay in that space. And this show, Decide to Transform, will help you. I'm here to help you make that decision, make that commitment to yourself, because it's all about a commitment. And join me at the top of the hour here, 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern here in North America, for Decide to Transform. And I will see you all back here next week, noon Eastern time, on the OMTimes magazine page. Have a very good week, everybody. Stay safe, stay sane, and please prioritize your self-care. Have a great one, everyone.